Hello and welcome back to Israel with Aline. I'm super excited for today because we are going to the city of Bethlehem, yes, Bethlehem of Judea, the city where Jesus was born. Nowadays, the city of Bethlehem is within the Palestinian Authority, but it's very close. So let's hit the road and in 30 minutes we'll arrive in Bethlehem. So if you guys are ready, let's get started. Let's start our journey here in this beautiful region called the Judean Mountains. And let's take advantage of the journey to Bethlehem to explain a bit about what the Palestinian Authority is. Let's start from the beginning. There is a region called the West Bank, and it is divided into 3 zones. Zone A, B, and C. Zone C is the Israeli control zone, Zone A is the Palestinian Authority control zone, and Zone B is a mixed control zone. But what is this so-called Palestinian Authority? It was created in 1994 and they are an autonomous zone, self-administered. That means they have their own government, their own president, their own elections, their own health system, education system, tax system. That is, it's a region that is really self-administered. And now, folks, welcome to Bethlehem, or rather to Bethlehem, which is what we call the city in Hebrew. Bethlehem means house of bread. The city of Bethlehem today has 30,000 inhabitants. That is, it's small, but it has a lot of history. There are over 3,400 years of history in this city, and also, of course, a lot of biblical history. Among them, nearby are the fields of Boaz, where Ruth worked. Also, here in Bethlehem, one of the greatest kings in the history of Israel, King David, was born. And of course, Jesus was also born here in Bethlehem. We've arrived at the main square of Bethlehem, and this is where the Christmas celebrations are held every year. And it's beautiful. Thousands of Christians from all over the world come to this place to celebrate the birth of Jesus. But we are here today because of this church, the Church of the Nativity, and inside it is the Grotto of the Nativity. But before we actually go into the church, I have a question. Why was Jesus of Nazareth born here in the city of Bethlehem? Well, at that time, a little over 2,000 years ago, the Romans conducted a census, a population count. And everyone now had to go to their family's hometown for the population count. Mary, being married to Joseph, has to go wherever he goes. And where does Joseph have to go? To the home or the city of his family's origin. Family. And since Joseph, as the Bible itself tells us, is from the house of David, he has to come here to Bethlehem, the city where David and his family lived. And when they arrive in Bethlehem, they have nowhere to stay. And so they are going to stay in an animal stable, and Mary is going to give birth to Jesus inside a stable. Now at this time, here in the region of Judea, often the animals were kept inside caves. And that's why it's the cave of birth, this stable. And now we are going to enter the church together and see the birth cave. Let's go. Here at the church door, we can also see the historical phases. We can see up there the mark of the original door. There was a grand entrance to the church, and it was being reduced over the centuries. We can also see here the arch from the Crusader period, but the church nowadays has a very, very small entrance. And that's why this door is also known as the door of humility, because everyone has to prostrate, has to bow before entering it. Even if the king arrives here, he has to bow to be able to enter the Church of the Nativity. This is the oldest place of continuous Christian worship that exists in the world. Here there have been Christians praying since the 2nd century. And we can already see here the central part of the church, and we can see how beautiful it is. Thank you. And the first construction made in this place was not a Christian construction. What do you mean? In the year 130, the Roman Emperor Hadrian began to build pagan sites over Christian and Jewish worship sites. For example, on the site where the Temple of Jerusalem stood, he built a temple for the god Jupiter. And here, at the main Christian site in Bethlehem, he ordered the construction of a temple for Adonis in the year 135. For 200 years, this site will function as a temple for Adonis, until the Roman Empire converts from paganism to Christianity. And then finally, the first church is built here in 326 by Emperor Constantine and his mother, Helena. And there are remains of this 1,700-year-old church here. The original floor remains here to this day. But this church has gone through many twists and turns. In the year 529, there will be a great Samaritan rebellion that will culminate in the destruction of the church. And still in the 6th century, Emperor Justinian orders the reconstruction of the church. And this church that we see even today, we are seeing, folks, a church that has stood and been in operation for 1,400 years. It is the oldest church in all of the Holy Land. But why are there no churches from that period? Because in 614, the Persians invaded Israel and destroyed all the churches in the Holy Land, with the exception of the church in Bethlehem. Why was this church spared? Because when the Persians came in here, they saw paintings on the walls. Among the paintings were representations of the 3 wise men. And the 3 wise men, who are wise men from the East, they had clothing, at least in the drawing, similar to Persian clothing. And since the Persians identify with what is drawn here, they decide to spare this church. And that's why it's 1,400 years old. And after that, additions were made here to the church, like these mosaics that we see here on top in gold. They are from the Crusader period. As we can see here behind, the church is currently under restoration. We can see here the top and the scaffolding. The church has been under restoration since 2013. I'm going to show you now pictures of the church before the restoration, and we see how it is now and the colossal difference between the two. And this was a gigantic project of cleaning and restoration of the church. And among the countries that helped here to finance the project is Brazil. So there's also a little bit of Brazil in the restoration of this church. The custody of the church today is divided among 5 Christian denominations. That means each of them guards a piece of the church. The main ones are the Greek Orthodox, but we also have Apostolic Armenians, Roman Catholics, and also a little bit for the Copts and for the Syrian Orthodox Church. And look how cool. We arrived here and we are seeing that inside the cave, at this moment, there is a ceremony of the Armenian Church happening. So, we are hearing their chants. We can also see the incense they are placing, and as soon as they finish, we will also be able to enter. We have now arrived at the most important Christian places in the world. We have 2 very special places inside here at the Grotto of the Nativity. The first one is this space here, with this 14-pointed silver star. We know that Jesus was born in this grotto, and according to Christian tradition, not only in this grotto, but specifically in this place. When we come here at a normal time, we see thousands of pilgrims here daily lining up to be able to come and touch this place. And in these so difficult and so different days that we are living, for me it is a very different experience to be here in this place, practically alone. But I say, folks, practically. In the few minutes that we arrived, I've already seen several people coming in and out and praying. So folks, this place is not empty. And yes, even so, despite all the difficulties, Christians continue to come here to pray daily. In fact, I'm hearing someone who's going to come in here in a little bit. So let's continue. The next place I want to show you is right here. We know according to the Gospel of Luke that after Jesus was born, Mary took him and placed him in a manger. What is a manger? A manger is the place where the animals' food was kept, knowing that this cave then was a stable. So going down here, we can, folks, see original parts of the cave. I know there have been many additions that were placed here throughout history, but if we look underneath them, we can see original parts of the cave here. They are here black, we can see, because of the soot from the candles, which has been accumulating over the centuries. But the most important thing is that this is the location of the manger, folks. So in this cave we have the birthplace and also the location of the manger marked out. Now we can see the Grotto of the Nativity, and it looks small. We see here its background, but that's not the reality. If we look, there's a door. Come with me to see this door. Is there something on the other side? What's there? The Grotto of the Nativity, folks, it's huge, and it continues this way. But the access to the rest of the Grotto of the Nativity, it's not through this church. And we'll see the rest of the grotto in a little bit. We're in April, but the Christmas spirit of Bethlehem lasts all year round. In fact, up here we can see lights and Christmas decorations. Of course, there's much more at Christmas time, but throughout the year there's a very beautiful Christmas atmosphere in the city. Remember when we were inside the cave? At the back of it we saw a door, and we know that the cave of the Nativity continues, but it is not accessible within the Church of the Nativity, where we saw only up to that part. Where is the rest of the cave of the Nativity? Inside this church. It's called the Church of St. Catherine of Alexandria. It's a Catholic church. And now we're going to go in together and see what's in the rest of the cave of the Nativity. And you're going to be amazed at how big this cave is. The Church of the Nativity that we just saw, it's the oldest church in all of the Holy Land. But this church that we're walking to now, it's much more modern. It's from the 19th century, built on top of remnants of much older constructions. The first construction found here in the archaeological excavations is a monastery from the Byzantine period. And the church, as you can see in this aerial photo, it is attached to the Church of the Nativity, and the grotto connects through the underground. This is the map of the Grotto of the Nativity. So look at how many spaces there are here, how many places, how many rooms. There is the room that we saw, which is the place of birth, and the manger. There is also a space called St. Joseph's space, St. Jerome's, which we will see in a little while too. I mean, this place is gigantic. And getting here very close, we see this door here. This door on the other side is the continuation to the Grotto of Birth. So when we were there, we saw this same door on the other side. This shows us that we are really in a large grotto that was divided later between the two churches, and we can still hear the Armenians who are here finishing their prayer inside the grotto. And within this same grotto, there is a very sad story we can see here around us. Some niches, according to Christian tradition, these niches are part of the tombs of the innocent children. When Jesus is born, the king then, Herod, orders the slaughter of the innocent children. So here it is believed that part of this space was used precisely as tombs. And here in the continuation of the grotto, in this space Saint Jerome lived. We can see him represented here with a Bible in his arms. What he did inside this space was the translation of the Bible into Latin, also known as the Vulgate. And thanks to his translation, the word and the biblical text will spread even more within the Roman Empire. Saint Jerome will be buried here, but later his body will be taken away. So nowadays here, there is really only memory. We are now leaving the church, but I have one more important message. But let's take advantage now and have a beautiful view of the city of Bethlehem. And I want to announce now that our channel has a members club. What does that mean? It means that you can help our channel and our new videos and also receive exclusive content. So below there is a little button that says Become a Member. Click there and check out the channel member options. There are videos for everyone on the channel every Wednesday and Sunday. A kiss to everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday with another special video from the city of Bethlehem.